my expectations and hopes were pretty high until I saw the two warm-up games, and I've been brought crashing back down to earth. Although England won them both 1-0, the second one against Romania, first against Austria, of course, I never really saw something that was going to get me excited. Now, maybe that's just because the players from Manchester City and Chelsea were away, of course, given their time off from the Champions League final. Manchester United's players slowly came back into it after the Europa League final as well. But Mark, I really looked at those two warm-up games and thought England are missing something. I don't know how you saw the two warm-up games.
Yeah, listen, they were both flat, and I think warm-up games are really strange because you don't want to go into a tournament with all guns blazing, because then you build up expectations so high that you can't live up to it, especially with England, because as we know that the England kind of bandwagon goes either, it goes to extremes, doesn't it? It's either really bad or really good. Now, I think with the performances, if you're playing in those games, you don't want to play to your full potential because you don't want to risk an injury, but you don't want to kind of let the manager down because you want to make sure you're playing. So the players are kind of confused which way do they go with this. They don't want to put too much emphasis on being at their best because you want to peak it 2 or 3 weeks later. So the games you don't really want to play. But I do think that going into previous tournaments over the years, England have never really done well in pre-tournament games because I think that they're holding something back. They're not a really good gauge of how a team will perform in a tournament. The real action starts at the weekend, as we know. And I think, Croatia are not the team they were in Russia in 2018. England have beaten them since Wembley in the Nations League, but they're a very dangerous team. And in some ways, it's the worst possible game to start with because they're such a good team in possession that with England a little bit undercooked at the moment with big injury doubts about Harry Maguire. Is Jordan Henderson fit? Calvin Phillips, is he fit? You've got issues at the back. I do worry that England are a little bit underdone right now.
Yeah. Mark tweeted, I think, like things can only get better because of everything that's happened in terms of the personnel. I think it's been a mess, not due to Gareth Southgate kind of wanting it to be a mess, just due to the fact that there's been so many games of football. And I think what I do like about Gareth Southgate is that he does sort of cut out the noise a lot of the time and decides this is going to be the best thing. And so I'm going to go down that road. And what that was talking to the squad and going, look, Man City players, Chelsea players, and some of the Man United players as well, we're going to give you that time off because all being well, it's not going to be 3 games. It's going to be 7 games. So you want to have that squad kind of feeling energized after a really, really long season. Going to the games, Hugh, I mean, I agree with Mark. I think the fact is that the only players that are really going to give absolutely everything are the players that are trying to get fitness back or are trying to get themselves a place. It's been announced that Ben White has got that place in the squad. I mean, do you think that's the right call, Hugh? Because it was between him and James Ward-Prowse, it felt like.
I mean, it's the right call for Gareth Southgate, and he's the manager. I think Tyrone Mings of Aston Villa never really impressed. Maybe that got into the manager's thinking as well. And maybe there is a bigger concern over Harry Maguire than we think as well, because of course, Gareth Southgate has the inside knowledge. He's massively important at the heart of England's defence. And of course, he's got an ankle problem at the moment, which we don't know when will be resolved. So I think that will have played a part. I personally thought James Ward-Prowse should have been included in the first 26. I thought England were light in the central midfield area, and clearly that's not been addressed. But maybe the performances of Jude Bellingham, for example, in the warm-up games where he's really impressive, the 17-year-old, has made Gareth Southgate feel more comfortable with what he's got in the central midfield area. And just finally, on the games, I think England really had a poor rhythm. The amount of players who played in these 2 games who will not be going to the tournament, I think was strange. Of course, he brought the 33-man provisional squad, and he maybe needed those players, given those players who were away from the squad with European finals that I mentioned. But really, it's awful preparation when you look at it. And England have failed to win 7 of their last 9 opening games at major tournaments. They never prepare well, as Mark already said. And for me, you look around the rest of the big nations in Europe, and they at least got what is close to their best team out for one of the 2 games. England didn't. So we're going into the first match. Phil Foden hasn't appeared. I think he's in England's best 11. You look at Harry Kane, he hasn't played with whatever combination that front 3 will be, and I'm sure we'll discuss it. They haven't played together. Mason Mount, who's going to be massive for England, he hasn't played in the 2 warm-up games either. And we haven't seen the 3-4-3 that so many people think Gareth Southgate might play, and I think might play in that opening game. So look, there are more questions than answers after those first 2 games. And I just, there's a little bit of me that thinks England's preparation may come back to bite them.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.